Gentlemen, we've got a great day. I appreciate all of the respect and solemnity that you exhibited this morning as we honored those who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that you could live in a free America. That's what Memorial Day is all about. We celebrate veterans in general on Veterans Day, but Memorial Day is reserved for those who paid the ultimate price so that the ideals of democracy and freedom could live on in this country. Ronald Reagan, I think, said it best when he was inaugurated as governor in 1967. Freedom is but one generation away. It's a fragile thing and it's not promised. Loose paraphrase, but you get the idea. What we have today, we won't necessarily have tomorrow unless we work for it. And that's part of what we try to teach you today. We have folks that believe in this program, believe in what you're here for, what you're doing, and they come out of their incredibly busy schedule. And we have got one such gentleman who is going to be here today. Are we ready to advance the governor, gentlemen? All right. It is my distinct honor and privilege as the Director of Oklahoma American Legion Boys State to ask you to please rise and welcome your governor of the state of Oklahoma, the Honorable Kevin Stitt. Gentlemen, Kevin Stitt is the 28th governor of the great state of Oklahoma, and he is leading the state with a vision to become top 10 in critical categories, from government accountability to job growth, infrastructure, education, and more. He is a fourth-generation Oklahoman and a graduate of Oklahoma State University. He and his wife Sarah have been married for 23 years and have 6 children. He's an entrepreneur and businessman who founded Gateway in Tulsa in 2000. Starting Gateway with only $1,000 and a computer, pretty stinking cool, he grew his business into one of the top 20 mortgage lenders and servicers in the nation, operating in more than 40 states and servicing more than $20 billion in residential mortgages. I can't even count that high, but it's incredibly impressive, and we get to have him as our chief executive in the state. Please welcome the governor of Oklahoma, Governor Stitt.
Have a seat. It's truly an honor to be here with all of you young people. You know, it is so important that we have an informed citizenry and you understand the issues in the state. Just the fact that you're here, I know you're going to be great leaders, future leaders, not only in the state of Oklahoma, but also the United States of America. So couldn't be prouder of the fact that you're sitting here learning the issues, learning about government and civil discourse, and it's just exciting. So I'll give you a couple of thoughts about leadership and kind of some challenges that I have for you, and then we'll just open up the Q&A, and I can talk about the legislative session that we just ended up finishing, but a little bit more about my story. I've got to update my bio. Today is my 24th wedding anniversary. So Sarah and I have 6 children, and our oldest son, who's 19, when he was right after his junior year of high school, he went to boot camp. He joined the National Guard and went to boot camp, did the split entry. I don't know if anybody in here is doing that, but did the split entry, and then AIT training the next summer after senior year, so couldn't be prouder of him. And kind of a funny story, we went to his swearing-in ceremony, and when you swear into When you swear into the military, you promise to obey the President of the United States, defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And then here is my 19-year-old son. Because he was also joining the Oklahoma National Guard, with his hand in the air, he promises to obey the commands of the governor of the state of Oklahoma. So I've been wearing him out ever since. Go polish my boots, soldier. Go wash my truck. But it's been funny. He's been rolling his eyes at his dad. You know, and when I graduated, after I graduated from Oklahoma State, moved to Tulsa, that's where I met my wife Sarah, and then started my company Gateway. And I've had some success in this world. Our company has 1,600 employees today. It's just been an amazing American dream story. But I wanted to kind of go back and tell you a couple of thoughts that I have. So when I was in college, I don't believe there's any dream that God has placed in your heart that's too big for you. I believe that God puts desires and abilities in every one of our hearts. And I encourage you to dream big and write down your goals. And I was in college. I was 22, just about to graduate. I hadn't graduated from college yet. And my mentor encouraged me to do this, to write down my goals. And Lou Holtz, the famous football coach at Notre Dame, had made this famous. And he said, hey, just write down your 50 lifetime goals, whatever you want to accomplish in life. Nothing is too big. And so I did that. I was at the student union in Stillwater, started just writing down my goals. When I got to goal number 8, I was just thinking, I was always interested and kind of thought about politics. And I wrote down become governor of Oklahoma. And then I thought, there's no way. I didn't know any governors. My parents weren't political. And I crossed it out. I thought, that's too big. And I wrote down have dinner with the governor. Okay? Now I get to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the governor. But I tell you that to tell you that there are no dreams too big. You can accomplish anything that you set your mind to do. Sitting right here in Oklahoma, I grew up in Norman, went to Norman High School, and just amazing what you can accomplish. Everything is right between your ears and putting yourself in the right position. But first is dreaming big and having those desires in your heart. The second thing that I want to challenge you with this morning is choose your friends wisely. It is so important. The fact that you're here tells me that you're already making great choices. But this is the first day of the rest of your life. And you have to continue to make those good choices throughout your life. You know, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Find out who you want to be like and find the right mentors and the people that you can look up to and the people that are further along in life than you. Because you're the same person today that you'll be in 5 years, except for the people you meet and the books you read. So choose your friends wisely. And I'll tell you a story, a true story about 2 boys that grew up in Oklahoma, Steve and John. They were best friends in elementary school, best friends in middle school. They played sports together, went to each other's houses all the time. Well, when they got into high school, Steve started drinking, getting into drugs. And John just said, you know what, that's not the path that he wanted to go down. And it was super tough to decide to find a whole new, different set of friends. Because it's always easier to choose the right friends. And so he made a tough decision to find a new set of friends. Well, life didn't turn out too well for Steve. After high school, he ended up incarcerated in the state of Oklahoma. Drugs took him down a terrible path. The other boy, John, well, he's standing before you today as governor of the state of Oklahoma. And never underestimate who your friends are. Make sure that you put yourself in the best situation. The last thought that I wanted to share with you, or challenge, is never, ever, ever quit. Never give up. You know, I'll tell you, people, in my opinion, quit just a little bit too early. And let me let you in on a little clue. Life is going to be challenging. Okay, there are going to be challenges, no matter what your background is, what your parents are, what has ever got you to this point right here. It is going to be challenging. If you become governor, guess what? It's still going to be challenging. There's still problems, no matter what you choose to do in life. Never, ever give up. And you heard my bio, and you heard the end of the story. Today, our company's 20 years old, and in the world standard, it's very successful, and we're doing really well. But I'll tell you what, when I started the company, up until 2007, 2008, I wanted to quit my own company about 1,000 times. It was challenging. In 2007, the financial crisis, you're much too young, but we had a huge financial crisis in the United States. And I wanted to quit. Our company wasn't making money. I thought we were going to go bankrupt like every single other company. And I finally just gave that up to the Lord and said, Lord, if I'm just going to be a local business person in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm going to be satisfied with who you designed me to be, because I kept praying, thinking that we were going to be bigger, we should be bigger like all these other companies. Well, 2010, once we got through the financial crisis, and I look back on that time in 2007, had I been bigger, our company would have went out of business like every other company. But we were the perfect size, and we just exploded with growth over that. So my point to you is, people give up a little bit too early, and even though unanswered prayers or God's no is probably a better yes for you later, because those maturing processes that we had to go through as a company really helped us explode and take off after that. So it was an amazing, amazing time. So I just wanted to encourage you, don't ever give up. Once you choose your career or your profession, you got to just stick with it and make it successful, because you certainly can. And I want to close with this. My favorite day as your governor. So it was during COVID in 2020. The governor of Colorado had closed his state down and refused to allow trade shows and different events to happen in the state of Colorado. So the largest cattle show in the country had been having their sale in Colorado and Denver for over 100 years. And once I found out they couldn't have it, I went to Colorado, recruited them to the state of Oklahoma. So they came to Oklahoma City, and it was 17 days of hotels, restaurants filled, tremendous success. And they let me know that they are leaving Colorado after 100 years and are officially moving to the state of Oklahoma. So pumped about that. Well, right after that happened, the governor of Colorado, this is an ag company, he did something very, very strange. The governor of Colorado declared a meatless holiday. Okay? Well, we've got 100,000 people that work in the ag industry in the state of Oklahoma, so I was trying to throw gas on that fire, and I wanted to recruit more ag companies in the state of Oklahoma. So I snapped back at him, and I declared meat all week in the state of Oklahoma. Well, this organization named PETA heard about that, and they put up a billboard in South Oklahoma City and called me Governor Meathead Stitt, Go Vegan for Life. So my communications team, and they're walking around the governor's office, they saw it, and they didn't want to tell me what was going on. And they were walking around, and I saw them looking at something, and I said, what's going on? They said, oh, Governor, you're not going to like this very much. They showed it to me, and they said, put this billboard up against you. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, good. They don't know my friends in Oklahoma very well. I said, y'all go find the biggest smoker you can find, put it up underneath that PETA sign. I got Cattlemen's Association to donate hot dogs, hamburgers, and steaks. And my most fun day as your governor was grilling out steaks underneath that PETA sign. And I mean, I got on the radio and invited all of Oklahoma City to come over and grill out with me. And it went viral. I mean, they were showing on the news in Vermont, and they were showing on the news in Maine. My daughters were like, Dad, we saw you on TikTok. But here's the moral of that story. The news media was there. They came up to me and they said, Governor, what would you say to someone who wants to be a vegan? And I said, here's what I'd say. If you want to be a vegan, be a vegan. If you want to eat steak, eat steak. It doesn't matter in Oklahoma. Because in Oklahoma, we believe in freedoms. We believe in personal responsibility. And that's the scary part about the generation that you're growing up in and what you've had a firsthand look at, and why I'm so excited that you're here. Because our Constitution protects everyone's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And that's different maybe in the state of Oklahoma, or it's different for you than it is for me. And we're not going to let one person in Washington, D.C. dictate and mandate to every single American how they should live their lives. It's so frustrating for me as I watch COVID unfold with my colleagues around the country. all 50 governors and I would meet and we would talk about things. And some states did things totally different. Some states dictated, mandated, and shut down churches and shut down schools and wanted to mandate exactly what happens. We believe in freedoms and personal responsibilities in the state of Oklahoma. And we believe in personal choice. And I love the quote that they gave earlier about Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan's true. Freedom is only one generation away, and we have to fight for it. I love that Ronald Reagan's favorite definition of freedom is the ability to say no. And we can have honest conversations with one another, and we can disagree with one another, and that's okay. I mean, a couple of bills that I signed here. One of them was the Save Women in Sports bill, and it means basically that we're going to protect girls' sports, and we're not going to let a biological male play in a girl's sports. That makes common sense to us. I was interviewed on the news by the Washington Post, and they said, "Governor, you signed this controversial bill." And I said, "Well, first off, it's not very controversial in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, we know the difference between a boy and a girl. And you know what? I have girls, OU college track stars, young women, thank me for protecting their scholarship. And 14-year-old girls, and high school swimmers, and weightlifters, and wrestlers, and thanking me for protecting their sports. And so again, it's common sense for us. And the great thing about our country is it's 50 different examples of democracy. So I'll rightly admit, California can do something different than Oklahoma. But in Oklahoma, I represent 4 million Oklahomans, and we overwhelmingly want to protect girls' sports in our state. So with that, let me just pause right there, and I want to stop and just leave some time for some questions, what you'd like to hear more about. And again, truly, thank y'all for being a part of this Boys State. I think it's a tremendous, tremendous organization, and you're going to remember this week for the rest of your life, and it's going to plant something in your heart to get involved in public service, which is so, so important that we have people running for offices and engaged, because our founders never thought that politics was going to be a profession. They thought that you'd be a successful business person or a farmer or rancher or teacher or pastor, and then you'd come serve your state or country and then come back to the private sector. So that's exactly why I'm excited that you guys are here. So with that, if it's okay, do we have time for any questions? Yes, sir.
In what ways are you working to make education, or Oklahoma a top 10 state in education?
Thank you. So the biggest thing that we can do, number one, the standards are something that we have to push. We need to have higher standards in education. But to me, we have got to have more parent choice in education. We have a monopoly in the education system, and we have to have more choice. What I mean by that is funding needs to follow the student, not the system, okay? North Carolina's done it, Florida's done it, West Virginia's done it, and that will create more competition in our education system than anything we can possibly do. It's hard to micromanage every single school district across the state, so you have to give parents more options. I spoke at the high school graduation for Cristo Rey in Oklahoma City. Cristo Rey is a Catholic school. They had 56 graduates, 90% Hispanic, and it was amazing. They have about 29 of these across the country. In most other states except for Oklahoma, those students, they have larger classes, number one, but those students are able to use scholarship money to go to the school of their choice. And you guys probably go to great schools around the state, and I'm so proud of that. And if you are in a school district that's getting you college ready or career ready, you have nothing to worry about, because they're going to get more students to that school. But if you're in a failing school district, for example, if there's a low graduation rate in North Tulsa, or only 15% of those kids are getting college ready, why are we standing in the way of those parents that are in a failing zip code to decide to go to a school better for their choice? And that's basically what I've been trying to get across the finish line. I think that will revolutionize the state of Oklahoma and improve our test scores. We're right now like 46 in the country, and we have to inject more competition, give more parents more options. And I'll leave you with this imagery on that. 60 years ago, when we integrated our school systems, politicians, superintendents stood in the doorway of schools, refused to let minority kids into their school. Today, we have some of those same politicians and superintendents standing in the doorway of schools refusing to let minority kids out. And I will always stand with parents to let them choose what's best for their kids. Yes, sir. So, do I think it'll be overturned? I do. I believe that, and when I say overturned, really what we're saying is, this is not something that constitutionally belongs to 9 people, unelected folks in Washington, D.C. in the Supreme Court. This belongs to the states, okay? That's all Roe v. Wade, when they say overturn, all they're saying is, this goes back to the states, all right? Because the Constitution is very, very clear. What doesn't belong to the federal government belongs to the states or the people, is what it says, okay? So the 4 million people in Oklahoma overwhelmingly support life, and we're going to protect the life of the unborn, okay? I will tell you that Colorado is probably going to do something different, and maybe California might do something different, and that's okay. But I represent 4 million Oklahomans. We overwhelmingly support life, and so we don't want abortion in our state, and I believe that we'll make that happen if Roe v. Wade pushes that back down to the states. And I'll also say that we're investing. We want to be the #1 state that also loves the mother and loves the child. And we want those services and those adoption services. And I just signed a tax credit bill to help adopted parents pay for some of those added expenses. We're going to have tons of church groups and nonprofits. Even my health department, we put in $3 million to help in crisis pregnancy situations. So we want to love the mother and we want to love the child in the state of Oklahoma. Yes, sir.
What do you believe our current legislators are doing right along this session?
How much time do we have? So, you know, I've got a lot of friends in the legislature, and we got some great things done, but I vetoed a couple of things for them. So one of the things that they passed was they wanted to send $75 to every single citizen. And then that $75, you would have had to pay federal tax on it. So you really lose, you'd only end up with like $55, something like that, out of the $75. That was going to cost our state about $181 million. Instead, I wanted real tax relief. I wanted to get rid of the grocery tax. The grocery tax is a huge regressive tax, meaning it disproportionately affects people with lower income than it does people with higher incomes, right? So I'm trying to get rid of the grocery tax. We're one of only 13 states that taxes groceries. And right now, with inflation super high, we need that relief for Oklahoma. So I'm calling them back in for special session to work on real tax relief. The other thing is, I'm trying to lower the income tax. We lowered it last year from 5 to 4.75. If I go another quarter point, we become top 10 in the nation in the lowest in states that charge an income tax. So trying to get that across the finish line. We got into a little scuffle at the end of the session. You know about that? Okay. We got into a little scuffle at the end of the session, but it's going to be fine. Got great friends in the legislature, and I believe that they'll do the right thing for tax relief here at the end of the session. Yes, sir.
Since we're taking away so many taxes, how are we supposed to make money off of other things? What are we adding to make more money since we're taking away so long?
Yeah. So do not believe that we have to tax more, because the government can never spend enough money. Number one, it's the taxpayers' money, and we grew government this year by 9%. The first thing I did when I ran for office, what inspired me to run, number one, the Lord, I felt like put it in my heart, but I was over there in Tulsa running my business, never been involved in politics, and I was watching billion-dollar budget deficits every single year, teacher walkouts, so much turmoil going on, state agencies losing money. I got inspired to run for governor. I looked at who was running, and it was just kind of more of the same, and I said, if we don't have somebody step away from the private sector that has business experience and bring in a fresh set of eyes, nothing's going to change. Well, today, we now have the largest savings account we've ever had in state history. We're top 4 in the country in that. So you had to first put the savings account together. I've held all these budgets flat. I have 2,000 fewer state employees than we did just a few years back. And once we put that in place, then we have to, and this was all basically in an oil and gas downturn, and now we have got to keep government flat. And so my proposal is modest growth in government, but it seems like there's always people the government can never spend enough money. You need to choke off that revenue on the revenue side to keep the budgets, to keep the government modestly growing. Instead of growing at 10%, we want it growing closer to 1 or 2%. So ultimately, that's what I believe. But I'm never going to put our state in a bad situation. We've already got the largest savings account we've ever had. We can weather a small downturn, but the projections look great again for next year. Oil and gas is up. The projections last year were when oil and gas was down. Let me touch on energy real quick, because I think this is important for us to understand. Oklahoma has an all-of-the-above energy approach, meaning we've been an energy innovator for over a century. We're leading the country. When I go to Washington, D.C. and meet with President Biden and also the Secretary of Energy, we talk about these things. And Oklahoma is super excited. We're number 6 in oil production, okay? We're number 4 in natural gas production in the entire country. But we're also, this blows people's mind in Washington, D.C. Did you know we're number 2 in wind energy production? We got some of the cleanest water, cleanest air in the country in the state of Oklahoma. We're one of only 4 states that 40% of our energy comes from renewables. Only 4 other states can say that. So, and because of all of that, all of the above approach, we have the lowest cost of electricity to the business and also the consumer, which is tremendous for our economy and people moving into our state and companies moving here. But I want to tell you why that's so important. Remember last year in February when we had that polar vortex? Y'all remember when it was super cold all over the Midwest? Okay? Normally, 40% of our energy comes from wind. Well, during that time, those wind turbines were frozen, so we didn't get any electricity from wind. Natural gas is normally 40% of our production that goes to the generation plants. It was frozen at the gas wellhead, okay? So coal saved our bacon. We went from like less than 5% coal production in Oklahoma to 55%, all right? If it wasn't for coal for that 2-week period, you guys couldn't have watched TikTok for 2 solid weeks, okay? Now, that's kind of funny, but it's also true that everybody needs to know when you plug your cell phone in or when you plug your electric vehicle in, where does that electricity come from? In most cases, it comes from clean burning natural gas. We have to have an all-of-the-above approach to energy, to a robust energy grid in the state of Oklahoma. It's so, so important. We'll wrap it up with one more question. Yes, sir.
Why, as a teacher, like, should I stay in Oklahoma rather than moving to Texas or Kansas? And I could get, like, 10 years working here as a starting pay for most of the jobs.
Well, I don't know exactly what you're talking about on the pay side. We gave teachers 2 pay raises the last couple of years, 2019, 2020, I believe. Maybe it was 18 and 19, to bring them up to market. I believe we have to pay all of our teachers what market is. The other thing that we got across the finish line this year was to set up a fund where I'm trying to pay teachers up to $100,000 a year to stay in the classroom. Because the magic happens when we have the best teachers teaching young people in the classroom. And it's so important that the teachers don't have to go into administration, they don't have to go into become principals or superintendents. I want to pay those teachers up to $100,000 and inject some more competition in the workforce. But we also, unlike Texas, we pay for all the benefits, the health insurance benefits for our teachers in Oklahoma. So it's a great profession. So rewarding to give back to that next generation. So thank you for doing that. And again, I'll close and just thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week at Boys State. So proud of you guys. Tell your families I said hello and God bless you.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you coming out here. You guys can have a seat. We appreciate your time, especially on your anniversary. I hope we didn't cause any rifts at home, but please thank you to Sarah for being a part of this. She's also featured in a couple of MIO commercials, just like you have. So supporting Made in Oklahoma products, Boy State now. Very fair. We appreciate you being here. Nobody gets to leave Boy State without a little bit of swag. So as we talked about on the way in, this is our first year at Rogers State University. You can see this is such a beautiful campus. I know you've been here before, but they have rolled out the red carpet for us. So we had a commemorative coin to remember this auspicious year. And you got to be here for part of it. So I'm going to give you this. And we also want to give you a little bit of Boy State swag. We've got the official hat. We're at Grand Lake, and we've got the official Boy State t-shirt for you.
Oh, thank you so much.